What's up, gamers? This is NGG here with another review video. This time it's for AI, the Somnium Files. This is part 1. There is a part 2, but I just beat part 1 because I wanted to see if I wanted to buy part 2. Now, this is a visual novel puzzler, and I will get into the gameplay mechanics, the story, the characters, and the controls. So let's start with the characters first so we can familiarize ourselves with some of these characters. So the first character we have is Dante. He is a detective. He's with Abyss. That agency is a super secret agency, which he is a sinker, which means that he goes into people's dreams states, and that's where he tries to solve these puzzles and do his sleuthing in there. The next character you have is Mizuki, which is one of my favorite characters. She is the child of 2 of the other characters I'll get into, and she currently stays with Dante at his home. She is a 12-year-old little girl, but she likes to hang out with older kids because she is super smart and super intelligent. So that's Mizuki. She's also pretty strong-willed, strong-tempered, strong physically. The next one we have is Aset, and that's her stage name, and her actual name in the game is Iris. She is like an internet idol, and she plays video games, she sings, she dances, she does podcasts. So she's very much into the internet world, and because of that, she has her own little simp follower, which is Ota. Ota is, like I said, her follower, and he literally follows her everywhere in the game, kind of does whatever she asks him to do because he loves her so much. And yeah, that's his basic thing. His basic stuff is just, he's definitely a simp type of character. We have the boss, who is what it sounds like she's the boss of the Abyss, and so she runs Abyss and runs the sync team and stuff like that. We also have Ava, which is the AI ball that's in Dante's left eye, I want to say. Yeah, he's in Dante's left eye. And so in the real world, she can come out of his eyeball and turn into like this little teddy bear looking thing. Clear, you can see like her little eyeball thing in the teddy bear. And then when she's in the dream world, she is like a female character version, hyper like what Dante would like to look at, basically, because Dante's a little bit of a pervert. And so Ava is the artificial intelligence of the game. She helps you solve these puzzles. Like I said, artificial intelligence, so she's super smart. She is like a walking computer partner for Dante, so she literally is his partner. There's Pewter, who also runs the sync machines in the AI sync rooms. Then there's the character of Shoko. Shoko really doesn't have a big part in this game because she is the first character you find murdered in the very, very beginning of the game, but she is Mizuki's mother. Then you have Renju, which is Mizuki's father, who is the head of Lemniscate, which is where Aset works at doing her podcast and her thing. He's like the talent agent. His building is. You have So, who is the congressman of the game. I don't remember what district he works. I don't think they even just mentioned it. I just know that he is a congressman, so he is a big part of the game as well. And then you have Hitomi, which is Aset's mother, or Iris's mother, and she also has a big part in this game as well, being the mother of an idol. So these are all the characters you run into in your gameplay. There are more characters, but these are like the main basic characters you're running into when you're playing this game. So now that we've talked about a couple of the characters, let's get into gameplay, and then we'll get into story after controls. So gameplay. As I said before, this is a visual novel puzzler. So this is my first time playing a visual novel puzzler, and I didn't know what to expect. And it was a lot different from playing a lot of the other visual novels I've been playing. This one includes English voice acting, and so there was a lot less reading I had to do in this one. You still had to read like the choices catalog, even though most of the times you ended up having to pick all the choices. You still had to read all the choices. They didn't tell you the choices, and then the other characters spoke back to you. So there was a lot less reading in this one. So for me, it was less visual novel and more listening and puzzler. But I did like that a little bit more, because sometimes when I've been reading my other visual novels, I can't get the feeling behind the characters, because you can hear their voices but you're not understanding what they're saying. So that's sometimes it's distracting for me, whereas this one I could understand what he was saying, understand what the characters were feeling just by the tonality of their voice. Now, this game does something different than some of my other visual novels, which is it introduces a flowchart system to me. I've never played a visual novel with a flowchart system, and what that means is, like, a lot of my visual novels, I have to go back, start over from the beginning, and play again to get different endings or different timelines or different whatever. Whereas this one, you unlock it in the flowchart, and then you can go back and forth in the flowchart from between different things without having to go all the way from the beginning. Keep playing until you get to the part where you have to make a different choice. So that was really, really nice. I did like that a lot. So it was a lot less backtracking and then coming back forward, backtracking and then coming back forward to get different timeline entries or different ways you wanted to go. The only thing about that, though, is that the timeline, the flowchart would stop you in certain places. So like if I was stopped on one side of the flowchart, on the opposite side they were like, all right, this is locked until you can complete certain parts of the puzzles in other parts of the game. So that was a little weird and different for me, where like I didn't complete a storyline until I had half done storylines on one side of the board and half done storylines on the other side of the board. It was a little weird, and I'm gonna tell you, took me out of my immersion a bit because of that. I was fully immersed until I had to stop the story sequence that I was on and move on to a different story sequence in a different timeline of the game. And that was a little annoying. I would have liked to be able to finish completely one timeline. I understand for like the main storyline why they did it, but until I figured out why they did it, it was hella annoying. So all of the puzzles take place in the Somnium, and I will explain that when I get to storyline, but I'll do a brief synopsis. So the Somnium is really like a dream state of people, and you're the detective going into those dream states. So a lot of the puzzles you have to figure out is to unlock their hidden memories or mental locks in their stories or in their heads that they don't want to talk about or they've repressed or whatever. And so that's where a lot of those puzzles take place. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, puzzle games are not my cup of tea. I had a hard time with some of these puzzles, especially since some of these puzzles have multiple different routes. I didn't know that. I thought, all right, once I solve the puzzle, I would be done. It has multiple different routes, and you have 6 minutes to complete these puzzles. And that sounds like a lot in theory, right? But there are things that can take your time. So like opening a door could take 50 seconds or 20 seconds. It like literally depends on the puzzle and what they want you to do. So you have to get like these tiny things where it reduces the amount of time it takes. It could reduce it by a quarter, it could reduce it by a third, it could reduce it by only 10 seconds. And then there are some things in the puzzles that add multiple. So like if you unlock a piece of the puzzle, you'll make it so that the next puzzle piece you unlock takes twice as long to unlock. So instead of taking 30 seconds, it'll take like 60 seconds. So stuff like that were pretty annoying and complicated for me as a non-puzzler Like, I really don't enjoy puzzler games, so that was a little hard for me. Even though I got through it, I did have to look up a couple of these puzzles because I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. And at one point, like, I was doing the timey systems and pressing the time things, management things, and then for some reason I forgot to, like, I thought I was pressing them and it said, oh, not being used, and I thought, oh, that's because it's a big cutscene thing. No, it's because I forgot to press the A button to use the time thing. There are also these things in the puzzle you have to find. So they're like these little eyeball things that will open different things inside your appendix. And it's like to 100% the game, you gotta find all these little eyeball things inside the puzzles to unlock things, like for extra content. Like, it'll unlock different outfits that you can see that were thought about in the appendix. There are also gameplay mechanics outside of the Somnium. So you have like maybe 3 gameplay mechanics besides the reading. There you can use Aiba to unlock the X-ray feature, and you can see through things. But yeah, you can use that. They're like these shoot mechanics that you have to like aim for a target, and the target moves, so you have to like kind of move with it, and if you don't get it, you can get game over. So just make sure like you are paying attention to those points, because if you're like just going through reading it and not paying attention, then you might miss the scenes where you have to like hone in on something. And they're usually cutscenes, so you should know, but like if you're not focused on following that little dot on the screen, you will get a game over. Now let's talk about controls. So in the AI Somnium Files, like I said, this is a visual novel, so there are visual novel elements as well as elements in moving that you would not normally have. So you have both elements. So like you'll have the one that auto advances the story. You'll have Aiba's controls. So Aiba can control like night vision and X-ray. And you would have to press the L3 button, which is the analog stick, but the button itself, like, it took me a bit to figure out that that's the button that they wanted me to press. And the other one, the R3, resets Aiba's camera controls. Okay, so in this game, I'm used to being able to rewind and fast forward in some of these visual novels. This game does not have a rewind button, but it does have a fast forward button. So I did kind of get used to like being able to like rewind if I missed something, but you can still read the dialogue by pressing the L button, and it'll pull up all the dialogue that you missed. The only time that's different is when you get into a new scene, you can't see dialogue from the previous screen, which is a little annoying, because like if I missed something that was said, I can't go back if it switched, if I missed it right at the point where it switched over to a new scene. And so I did miss that feature, the rewind feature, in the visual novels. I mean, there's the flowchart system, which I explained already, but I just really would have liked to be able to quickly rewind, see what I missed, and then quickly fast forward it if I need to go back. So that feature is missing from this game as well. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this game, which is the story, because it is a visual novel. So like I said before, the main character is Dante and his partner Aiba, which is the eyeball in his left eye socket. And you are part of a detective company, a secret top agency known as Abyss, and you are a sinker who goes into dream sleeps to find out what people are lying about. And so the first case you get is the mystery of Shoko's death. Shoko is somebody you knew at one point, you went to school with. You actually are raising her daughter at this point because of things that will happen later on, and you'll find out why you have Mizuki in your custody. But between Reju and Shoko, they were not raising Mizuki, so you do have Mizuki in your custody. So you are trying to find out why Shoko was murdered, and like you're going through this carousel scene Mizuki is the one who found her mother murdered, and so that's a little hard for her. She goes into this like state of shock, and that's the first dream suite you have to go into to like get her out of her shocked system of, you know, of finding her mother like that. So you are definitely, that's the main premise, is the detective trying to find out these murders, and for some reason they're looking for what's called the new Cyclops killer, because this new Cyclops killer takes the eyeballs from the left eye socket, whereas in the past there was a Cyclops killer that would take the eyeball from the right eye socket. So you are investigating that with your boss and Pewter and the team, and Ava as well. So it's very much a detective game. You run into the cast of characters. Like I said, you have Aset, who is a teen idol, and she for some reason wants to go with you to look at the murder scene, and she like does some stuff to like get her way in the game, which I don't appreciate this character myself. How she maneuvers herself into getting her way sometimes. So in your investigation, when people refuse to talk, you sync with them. You run into a bunch of murders that are happening around you. Some of the cast people you meet could either be the murderer or the one that gets murdered. So it's a lot of investigation. I don't want to spoil this game at all for anybody, because I feel like this is a very spoiler heavy game. That's why I didn't want to talk too much about the story, but that basically you are a detective. So let's get into rating. I think I would rate this game a 3. And I'm going to tell you why. I know a lot of this game is a lot of people's favorite game. And I'm going to say, yes, I understand that it's a lot of people's favorite game because of the story. But I think the puzzles are what, like, me. Because I hated having to stop my gameplay to solve these puzzles. And then having the flowchart system where you were stopped a lock, and you had to go into a different time area and finish some other puzzles before you can go back forward to the, like, a lot of that was annoying to me, as like I'm used to being able to finish one whole story, go back, finish another whole story, go back, finish another whole story. And I didn't get that in this game. And I also believe that, like, when people say, oh, it's great, it's great, it's great, it puts this thing on me where it's like I'm expecting greatness. And if I don't get it, like, I'm slightly disappointed. And that could be it. Like, other people's opinions. This is why I don't watch other people's reviews. Because people's opinions can distract mine. And I'm going to say, like, I really, really didn't like it as much as everybody else seemed to like it. And I understand that's just my opinion and it's their opinion, but I think had I not known anything about this game other than it was a visual novel, I think I would have been fine. But I watched too many people's collections videos where they were like, this is the best game, and I'm like, it's good, the story is good. I didn't like that Dante was a bit perverted, and some of the sequences in the game were a bit, you know, perverted. But other than that, like, the game wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. It's not my favorite game, but I think I will get part 2 because I definitely love Mizuki as a character, because she definitely kept Dante in line. She would call him out on his male chauvinistic things that she thought he was doing, so I thought that was great. Anyway, guys, that was my review video for the AI Somnium Files. I hope you enjoyed this review video. Thank you guys for watching. Happy gaming. Bye.